Right, well, guys, a very warm welcome to the first episode of Manhood Conversations. I'm your host, Cassim. In front of you guys, as you can see, is Dan. Dan, say hi to everybody. Dan is a really interesting person who I wanted to get on the show. As the show evolves, guys, we're going to be expanding how many people are on the show. But at the moment, due to just various circumstances, not everybody can join the show in today's episode. But I actually just wanted to begin off with just introducing Dan, because some of you may already know who I am, but many of you will have no idea who the hell Dan is. So, Dan, I thought that you maybe could start off by telling the audience who are you, what your name is, how old you are, what you do. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. First off, thank you very much for inviting me.
You're welcome.
I do appreciate that and everything that we've just discussed. Yeah, I think it's a great thing that you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So, I'm Daniel. I'm now 33. I guess the way that we met was when I was a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Still doing that. I've kind of tried to move away from that a little bit.
Dan, for those of you who are listening to this, Dan is actually an amazing hairdresser. Dan has been involved with some really interesting shows and stuff like that. You actually went to Japan.
China.
Yeah, you went to China to some
China
really big show.
For massive. Like we were out there for 8 days.
Yeah.
And we were there to educate, teach hairdressers there. So the guy that we went out there for, he has something like 5,000 salons across China.
Now give people perspective.
So the perspective on that is
in the UK,
Tony and Guy is the largest group outside of that. And they have something like 500 salons.
He has
across
5,000.
Yeah.
Oh shit! This brother rich.
Yeah. So what he? No, he is. So basically, his thing was then he gets the top people who then go and train his staff.
Yep.
To come to this event once a year to be trained by. Started out as various other people within the industry, but they then went heavily with the company that I was with, who I am no longer with.
Yeah.
But I mean,
out of interest, why are you not with that company?
Experience.
Because why are you not with that company? Obviously, people are going to be asking why are you not with that company.
Do you know what? I don't actually know legally what the ins and outs are, what I can and cannot say.
Right. Okay.
However,
but it's something league.
We left on bad terms.
Oh shit.
So, do you know what? You may or may not know. I can't remember who. I've tried to kind of keep things on the download.
Yeah,
to
no,
be
that's
honest.
fair enough. Yeah.
So I actually live in Hastings now.
Hastings.
I've driven up from Hastings. I haven't driven from Caversham.
What?
Yeah. So I wasn't actually 100% sure whether you knew or not.
No, I had no idea.
Okay, so unfortunately, end of April, May last year.
Yeah.
Things went like atomic.
Downhill.
They went atomic.
Oh
So
shit.
I actually resigned pretty much, kind of around this time last year.
Yeah.
And it was not expected. It came out of the blue.
Yeah, because around this, literally, because when I was looking on your Instagram, it was around this time that you were literally.
Yeah, so this time last year, the November before, is when I was in China.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, what an experience that was, though.
Wow.
For all the reasons that I'm now not with that company, I got to do a lot of things with them.
Yeah.
And for someone to be able to, in their career, go abroad and, do a show to like 5,000 people, the energy that comes with that and all of that is amazing. But yeah, so I'm no longer with them, and I'm kind of currently in the middle of next week going to be going to a hearing. So it's out there.
Bloody hell. Hold on a minute. So why are you in Hastings? Because for those of you who are listening to this, Dan used to live in Reading, in Caversham, in Berkshire, right?
No, 10 minutes down the road from me.
10 minutes down the road from me. So why in the world, Dan, are you in Hastings?
So the way
Because
that...
your parents don't live in Hastings,
No,
do they?
they live in Bracknell. So
Yeah,
also
that's what I was
just down
thinking.
the
I was
road.
thinking that doesn't make no sense. Dan is really close. By the way, for those of you who are listening, Dan is really close to his parents. His parents are really cool people, by the way, which is why I'm saying this. So what happened? What happened there then? Of what you can tell us.
You know,
Was it just like, I need to get away from everything, I need a break, let me just take myself away, have a bit of a fresh start, or was it more like, was it a strategic move, or was it more of
I'd say it was a bit of both.
Okay.
It was a bit of both. And I think, again...
But why Hastings? That's so random, man.
So with this topic, manhood and all of that, I think this will actually tie in quite nicely to that. Just with... Sometimes you have to look after yourself.
Yeah.
And, what's the saying? Out of sight, out of mind. And
Very true.
to be able to just let your mind decompress...
Yeah.
And to reassess the world and to reassess, and for me, until recently, it's been almost a year of, right, I've lost my identity. I was salon manager, art team member. I've been with that company for 11 and a half years, and through, we've had discussions in pubs.
Yeah.
About
just various things, yeah.
And that work was my world,
yeah.
and I loved it, and I put 100% into it, and then I don't want to say what's happened, just for the people that it happened to, not just myself. I don't feel it's, they're not here sat next to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said, you cannot tell other people's story.
Yeah.
And obviously when the dust, a bit like when you go through to give some of you guys who are listening to this perspective, if you have somebody, for example, who breaks up from a relationship and your mates are asking you why is it you broke up, you can give your version of the events, you can give your perspective of why is it you broken up from the relationship, but it isn't your right to tell the other person's story as 100%. To why is that they broke up with you, because you know what I'm saying?
What I'll try and do is,
as the show goes on, right? As the show goes on, Dan will tell us, because obviously this is the first time.
This man gets everything out of everyone.
I do get, but Dan will tell us, guys. Obviously, as we get on and we get to know him a little bit more on that subject, he was telling us that he's now 33. He lives in Hastings. Yeah.
So my girlfriend's from Hastings.
Okay. So now this is starting to...
We met... Right. So we met February 2 years ago. Yeah. On a photo shoot. So she was one of the models.
You just can't make this shit up, can you guys? You just cannot make this up.
So yeah, I mean, I'd say over a period of 2 months, we ended up working on, I think, about 3 photo shoots effectively. Yeah. So I got to see her a few times, and I never wanted to be that guy in the industry.
You did. I'm just saying, everyone's thinking it, Dan. And this is where you are literally leveraging your job to take advantage of your job. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is, I think, manhood is, you need to be, and I should have actually done a better job of being a bit more forward. But I think over that kind of 3 meetings over a short time period, and then we actually went to a worldwide, but the UK final and regional of a competition. Yeah. She was a model for someone I knew. Yeah. So I got to see her at that as well. So we, over a few meetings, really liked each other, got chatting, and then we went on a date, actually the day after the final. Yeah. So she's from Hastings. Yeah. And so what happened with my previous employment, they, something happened outside of that, but they are linked to. Yeah. But what happened was not their fault. Okay. The issue I then had was how they dealt with it. Okay. Considering I'd been with them for 11 and a half years, considering
the client base you had with them.
I manage one of their salons, and had done for 4 years at that point. They'd always told me I was doing a great job, even though I personally had, am I the right person for this role? I knew I was, and I knew I was fair, and I knew I was doing a good job, but I'm not that hard ass, if that makes sense. I am when I need to be, I'm fair when I need to be. But anyway, so for all intents and purposes, I was good at what I was doing. So the way that they dealt with the situation was a bit of a shock, to be honest. Where they should have given me, do you know what, Dan? Go take a week. Go be with. Go sort out what you need to sort out, and then come back to us. So, being part of the art team is not paid, and you have to give up your weekends, give up your evenings. So it was completely my life. So when what happened, and then how they dealt with it, I wasn't particularly happy. And then I came back to work after having a day off. I didn't even get the week. I had to, just say to them, look, I'm having a day.
Yeah.
I haven't had
holiday in
a day off in well over my kind of time I need to be. So, I then basically got called in, and rather than asking about the situation, how am I, can they help, I proceeded to get effectively berated by them.
Oh shit.
And I said, you know what, I've been with you for 11 and a half years, actually. I think this is probably about the time we call it quits. So I wasn't very happy after that. I went to see my parents. I discussed with them everything, how I felt, what I felt was the right course to take. And yeah, they kind of backed it. I went in the next day, handed my notice in.
There are going to be people listening to this, Dan, and the first thing that's going to be coming into their mind is, how are you going to pay your rent?
So, this is why I went to Hastings.
Because that's the first thing that's going to be coming into their head.
So, for everyone listening as well, where it becomes even more difficult is I was renting an accommodation that was owned by
the son,
the owners of the business.
Right.
So up until the point that I handed my notice in, I was in not a great state. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
So mentally, it was extremely difficult to do that. So you talk about a relationship breaking up and it being a divorce. The way I looked at it at the time, and I kind of referred to it, it was like an 11.5-year breakup.
It is, and it's true.
For me, so if you imagine going to break up with someone after 11.5 years, the emotions of doing that, even though you know it's the best thing for you, the emotions of doing that is, I was shaking. It was a difficult time. So anyway, I handed my notice in. Mentally, I wasn't that strong. So I actually went to go to my doctors and kind of had a chat with them and said, look, I'm all over the place.
Dan, what do you mean by mentally you weren't that strong? Because I don't know what you mean by that. Do you mean you found it hard to make decisions? Do you mean you were depressed? Do you mean you were angry all the time? How did that manifest itself? Because I think there's a lot of lads who can relate to you, but they don't know exactly how to articulate what you're talking about.
And I would definitely say that if you do feel like that, the biggest thing I've learned that I was very bad at until a year or recently really is holding everything in. My problems were my problems. No one needs to know my problems. You might have a few beers and you tell a mate and whatever, but guys have got to open up more.
Well,
and
what
to
do
have
you mean?
That one person that they can go and talk about their problems to.
But how? Because I'm just saying, I'm just thinking as a lad. Okay, there's already the stereotypes of if you're a lad then and you show that you have problems, and number one that you're a weakness. There's a lot of people who think that if they tell their problems, they're going to be a bit of a burden to people. People are going to see you different. People are going to burden you. You know, a lot of lads, we have an image to live up to, in the sense that if we're the confident one or we're the leader, we have to be that role, right? And so I'm just thinking, like, you talk about finding that one person. Where the hell do you go about finding this one person? Because if it was really that simple, how many lads in the UK would have this person?
So I
But
think
according to the data, that's not what the data tells us. Most lads under 25, suicide is the highest. It kills more lads than it does anything of men under the age of 25.
Yeah.
So where do you? Okay, let me put it another way. So where did you find that one person? How?
So I've been relatively lucky in the fact that how do I word this? You know, no one person is one thing. So you can be the confident lad, but you've got a mum and a dad. Or if you're lucky enough to have both, you've got them to go to. Now, my dad is more of the silent, I wouldn't necessarily go to have that conversation with him, but I think when it comes to manhood, having a vulnerability is not being weak. And so a lot of lads may think, oh, you go and have a conversation with your mum or your mummy's boy. Well, no, it's who knows you better than anyone in the world? Probably your mum. And if not your mum, I was then in a good situation where I'd waited long enough for another relationship where that person was my best friend. And not just, oh, well, she's someone that I see, but I don't necessarily trust that much. So I had my girlfriend at the time, who I felt I could be pretty open with and discuss things with. But then I was lucky enough to have a mother that I feel can look at things in a bigger picture, as well as what is your situation, what's the situation in 10 years, was the situation back 10 years, just kind of like a bounce board to discuss things with.
Okay, so for those of you who are listening, what Dan, tell me if I'm wrong here, Dan, what you're trying to suggest is that the people who you're looking for, the characteristics of the types of people who you're looking for, who can play that role in your life of being a confidant, is somebody who can see the world from different perspectives. See the world, basically is open. If you go to them and you share with them, that they have the ability to see the situation from so many different angles, that they're not about judging you, but they're about giving you a different perspective. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, definitely. And not to just put their arm around you and go, oh yeah, that person, blah, blah, blah. But if you're wrong, for them to be the person that says, do you know what, actually, I think, think of it from this point of view, to kind of tell you when you are wrong as well. And I think I'm really lucky that my mother will support me when I need to be supported, but also give me a bit of a rain check. Oh, actually, have you thought of this? So I was lucky in that perspective. So to kind of bring everything back around full circle, I've then gone to Hastings because that's where I've got her father kindly said, of course you can come stay.
Yeah.
And I had to move very quickly.
No, is this like days? Or is this weeks or is this months? Oh, shit.
It was notice in on the Saturday. I moved.
Oh, shit.
I moved.
Oh, God, this is stressful. I'm being stressed now.
The thing is, I tried to remain as, and I think I did, professional as possible.
Can I just ask though, Dan? Because again, I'm sat at home and I'm listening to this conversation. Why did they not allow you to stay in the accommodation, or did you not want to stay in the accommodation?
I didn't want to be there.
Right. Okay.
Because of their personalities.
Okay, but you're living in a place by yourself, or were
No.
you staying in a place where the other people were
So
living?
there
as
was
well?
another manager sharing that
Oh no
property
no
with me.
no. So you now I see why you're saying that sometimes you've got to be, because earlier on you said sometimes you've got to, as a man, come to a point where you take yourself away. Just take yourself away from the from the hurricane,
Yeah.
to just actually listen to what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and and I think another thing that I've learnt through this that's grown me as a person is I'm a pretty laid back, I just want to kind of have a laugh and not really cause any conflict as much as possible. So, and I think something that I've learnt is there have definitely been some instances previous to that that I should have, not that I didn't take a step to kind of protect myself, but I probably should have taken a bigger, taken bigger action at earlier points that would have maybe prevented this. Okay. So I've learned that.
Can I just add one thing which Dan talked about earlier on, which I think is really important? I think a lot of lads, and I made this mistake as well, there is a difference between being really successful in an area of life and developing leadership skills, which is actually originally me and Dan, one of the conversations we had, because we went to a place called Auto Lounge and he was going for a situation in his life at the time in management and trying to climb in management and whatever. And one of the things that he was struggling with was trying to deal with how do you progress and be manager with people who you started with. And I think it's really important for many of you guys who are listening to this to understand that it is possible for you to be really, 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 really good. For example, as a really excellent hairdresser and you have bring in amazing customers, but then and part of the reason that you have become really, basically when you become really good, then opportunities arise for you to get into management or to rise higher in that particular job. But what then happens is you start being responsible for other people, and all of a sudden conflict begins to happen, because there is no way, and every single one of us can agree, there is no way that you can go up without having conflict, without basically somebody saying, well, clearly the reason why you're going up is because you think you're better than us. The reason why you're being given this opportunity is because it's sexist. Clearly, well, you're being buddy-buddy because you live with the boss. Clearly, you two have a relationship where, of course, you're going to succeed, right?
Yeah.
And now, all of a sudden, you have this conflict with people, and especially if you have a personality like I do or like you do, where I would rather not get into an argument, bro. What ends up happening is, which is why I tell you guys, you've got to study leadership, because when you study leadership, one of the things that you learn is about boundaries. You've basically got to learn how to say no, or when to say, no, I'm not happy with the decision that you're making.
Yeah.
No, I don't like the fact, no, it's unfair that both me and this person are doing the same job, but you are giving them the opportunity. Can you explain to me why it is that you're giving them the opportunity versus me, when I've given you 11 years of working here, I've worked weekends, I've worked Saturdays, I haven't taken weekends off. What's going on? And there has to come that point, which is where the respect actually is gained. Because a lot of lads, the thing that we're looking for is respect. But you can't get respect unless, in part, you stand up for yourself.
Yeah, so with leadership and respect, I think respect is something that takes a long time.
It does.
You don't just, I've done this one thing correct this week, why don't you respect me? You can never ask for respect.
It's something that's, you
and
get
someone might respect you, but you might not even ever know that. You don't even need to. So with leadership, I think the quickest thing I learned with that is, so I went from one salon and they put me in a different salon, because for me to then manage those people would be
crazy. Carnage.
Bonkers, yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Dear Lord.
And I think, leadership is not about being liked necessarily, or like seeking to be liked. You need to start with, right, what am I here for? What is our ethos? What is this business? What am I about? And how do I put that across fairly for everyone? So I think
But that's tough, man.
Oh,
Dan, that's
geez,
tough.
yeah, it's
Because if you
very
get into
tough.
leadership and you're somebody, for example, and this is why I say to people, like, you've got to work both on becoming successful and who you are as a person. Because boy, if you come from a background where let's say, for example, you crave the permission of other people. You've always, like, your parents have always told you, have affirmed your decisions, right? Then when you get into management, you're constantly looking for that affirmation of what you've done, and then loads of people are not going to agree with you, and then you're making these decisions, and you want to try and make everybody happy instead of being effective,
Very good point. And you asked me to make some notes or like some question points before getting here about potential discussion topics.
Yeah.
So I think that works really well into, I was going to say, how do we get military style confidence and leadership into everyday life? So when I managed, the way I looked at it was, right, you're here at a business that is premium level, like you're in the Premier League of hairdressing, let's call it that. So you have an ability and skill to bring that is above most. So you need to maintain that at a high level. It's not one day I'm on, one day I'm off. So
Consistency.
From that, it's being fair.
And how do you mean by that?
Fair is not always about being the same to two different people, or say you've got 5 members in your team. It's not about giving every single person the same thing. It's about giving each individual person what's correct for them at that moment in time.
Oh, that's good, Dan. Oh, that's good.
But it's true.
Myself. Yeah,
so I can't say, right, you've all done well today. Here, have a crunchy. One person's trying to lose weight. One person's vegan. One person's putting more effort. One person. No, but seriously. So
I'm dying.
Say one stylist really steps up massively.
Right.
In one day, you've had a conversation with them or someone in your life, and they do a 180, and they're a different person. And the other person, you're doing really well. If you could just do this one thing, get yourself to there, and you'll see a massive. Their jump isn't necessarily as big.
Yeah.
So it needs a different reward, and what that is, whether it's a big or it's a conversation or it's a this or it's a that, is down to each individual situation. So, but to be fair with each individual. Now, if I'm bringing 100% to your environment, the space, I want to see something back from you. I'm not asking you to do the same as me. So I think leadership is more about it's about the individual. A team can be 100 people, but you need to deal with each person individually. Whether that's being able to get the best out of that person, because then they'll bring their best to the whole team, or if someone's not, do you know what? We'll discuss it. How can I help you to stay in the team? Do you want to stay in the team? Yes, brilliant. How do I help you get there? Oh, well, I feel this and I feel that. Brilliant. Okay, how about we put this in place? How do you feel about that? Yeah, no, that sounds good. Right, shall we get together in a month, 3 months? Oh yeah, 3 months, and I can really, try show you this next difference. And then at that point, if they're still not doing it, then you need to have another conversation. But at some point, you also need to be the person who says no. You're actually taking the mick. You need to go, and then that sets an example for the rest of the team. Oh, he doesn't, take people who aren't pulling their weight. Because if you have too many people not pulling their weight, then everybody doesn't pull their weight.
It's a difficult one.
Oh man, it's the toughest job in the world being a manager.
So how have you managed to transition then? Because obviously by quitting the other job, loads of people are going to be thinking, okay, well, number one, how did you find a job in Hastings? Number two, because loads of people are in situations in their life where they hate their fucking job. They hate it. They hate their boss, they hate their job, they hate the circumstances they're in. Yep. But the issue is that there is a transition period where they don't know what the fuck they want to do, right? Or there is a position where they are just someone who's just a normal person in a company, but they are so frustrated with the way things are run that they want to get into management so that they can correct them. But there seems to be this transition where they would need to go leave basically everyone to move into management. They'd have to work different hours, you'd have to go on all these courses. So how did you, when you were moving from hairdressing to, well, which is going to be what everybody else is going to be wondering, which I'm wondering is, well, how did you make money? You got to pay your rent, boy. You need peas. You need money. Because a lot of people do not have parents who would just say, move back in, or here's $5,000 for the next 2 months, you can pay us back. So how did you manage that?
I then had to be, so there's a saying in where I grew up in South Africa.
Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. Dan's South African.
So I was born in Malawi, grew up in Malawi till I was 7.
Yeah.
Then we moved to South Africa, where my mom's from, and then we left there when I was 12.
Yeah.
But there's a phrase that I always hear then, and I hear now that my parents still say, and it's called Boer Makaplan. And that's
say that again?
Boer, which is farmer in Afrikaans, and then Makaplan is like make a plan. So it's farmer make a plan. But what that means is when you're on a farm, you don't have, Amazon dropping this off, or, whatever it is, you have to make a plan with what you've got. And it's, your back's against the wall. Yeah. What are you going to do to stay alive, to keep yourself going? So that was when I entered Boer Makaplan mode.
Right.
And it was,
beast mode, right.
Saturday I hand my notice in. Sunday I pack up an entire house and move it to Hastings in one day.
Yeah.
Because I had to.
Yeah.
Like, in a normal scenario, you move house, one of the most stressful things you can do in your life.
You weren't even moving down the road. You weren't even moving to Brampton.
100 miles,
you were
100 miles away.
Fucking hell, Jesus. I'm stressed out just thinking about it now. Bloody hell, yeah.
So, but what I would say to this is, I would rather not have been in that situation.
But you needed to go through that situation.
That was my
rock bottom, your defining moment, your push that you needed. I bet you,
it's clarity.
I bet you really knew something needed to. I bet you, because when I first met you, Dan, I knew. I don't know how to explain this. You knew that something wasn't right. You knew that you needed to change gear. You knew that you needed to transition and do something a bit different, but you weren't really sure.
When we first met,
you prolonged it for ages.
That boxing, wasn't it?
Yeah, you was doing the boxing, and that's why I'm saying that when you got into boxing, then you did the cycling a little bit, and then obviously then what I'm saying is there was a lot of sporadic moves, meaning that, which is why I say this, I knew that you kind of wanted something, but you weren't too sure. It's a bit like, let me put it in what I call Cassim language.
Yeah.
You know a camera,
yeah.
When you take like a camera, it's possible for you to look through a camera and you're seeing stuff, but in order to see the picture clearer, you need to rejiggle the frame. What I bet back in them days, you need to focus it. So back in them days, you could see like images moving, right? Metaphorically speaking, you kind of knewish what you wanted to kind of do, and you knew it, but you weren't seeing it in clarity, right? And so my question, let me just go back to the question that I really want to ask, that I think people are going to be interested in, is how did you make the transition, Dan? Because a lot of people are in situations where they don't know what they want to do. They don't know, the jump that they would have to make, Dan, is so big and it's so crazy, and they've been doing this for so long, man. You were in the company for 11 years. And a lot of people have been in with the same Tesco's for like 6 years. They got money, it's not that bad. But boy, I tell you what, things have started turning up bad in their life. They're having arguments with their missus and their health is shit. How do they make that transition like? Obviously, you talk about it going into beast mode, yeah. What else?
So, I would say that you need to be honest with yourself.
What does that mean? Because everyone's going to say, well, I'm honest with myself anyway.
I think, including myself at times, we think we're being honest with ourselves, but we're not. And what I mean by that is, okay, you don't like that job. What are you doing to not work in that job?
Well,
you don't like that relationship. What are you doing to either improve or remove yourself from that relationship? I know, and I've seen it.
Yeah, but then people are going to say, yeah, but it's not that bad. She's all right, man.
Do you want to live the rest of your life with all right or your best friend?
Oh shit.
I want to live my life with my best friend.
Oh my days, Dan's not holding back today.
Yeah.
Fair play. Okay.
And the same with the job is. So when I moved, I had that focus. That was everything that needed to happen in that.
And your drive as well.
Yeah, because if I stayed in that job, I'm also, I'm saying to them, you can treat me like that. I'm giving you permission to treat me the way that you've treated me. And there are steps before that I've confronted them with, but I then stayed, thinking I've dealt with the matter. But they clearly still thought, I can treat Dan like that. So
in other words, what you're saying is, for people who are listening, what you're saying is, you have one or two choices. If you are in a situation in your life where you have certain values, like you're genuinely a nice person. You don't want to be a dickhead. Yep. You don't want to be like, you've seen people who do the same thing as you, or people in your family, and they lie and they cheat and they steal or whatever it may be. But you're like, that's not me. What you're saying is, you either choose to leave and say, if I stay here, if I get involved in the criminal activity, if I stay in this company and also do what has allowed other people to rise, then I'm the same as them, or I'm allowing it. Or what's the other thing that you do? So you either stay,
or you go,
or you. Oh shit! Yeah, but if you go,
do you know what? This is something.
This is radical. This is insane. What you're saying is insane, and there's going to be loads of people listening to this thinking this brother is mad.
Insane?
Because it might not work out. It might.
Okay,
unknown evil is better than an unknown evil for most people.
Why?
Because, listen, bro. Oh, there's a story.
No, you do
because
research
it is that.
To an extent.
Because the grass might not be green. What's that phrase? The grass might not be greener. The grass might not be green on the other end, and that's how I think most of us think. Yeah,
no,
I leave that job.
I get that, but
what if you moved in with your missus? I guarantee you, somebody's listening to this saying, what if you moved in with your missus, and then within a month, her dad said, "Oh no, you guys can't stay here anymore." What are you going to do?
So you have a conversation with that person, you say, okay, I'm really sorry you feel like that. Is it something that I've done? Oh no, it's just whatever. Okay, not a problem. Can you allow us 1 month to look around and move out? No, it needs to be 1 week. Cool. I have 1 week to find somewhere and move out. It's a plan, it's a choice. There's something that really kind of gets me, and I think is a bit of a cop-out, is, your life is your life, and you have only choices to make in your life. That's it. Everything is about a choice that you make. I could have, when you messaged me saying, Dan, I'd love to have you on this podcast, I can choose, do you know what, I'm really nervous about being on my voice, I don't like my voice, or it's 100 miles away, or I haven't really seen Cassim for a long time, should I bother? Or, how exciting is that going to be? I haven't seen Cassim for a long time, it's a great way to connect with him. It's 100 miles away.
Different choices, isn't it? Yeah.
So I think life is about the choices that you make, and if you make, for want of a better word, but a poor choice, it's a choice that will be detrimental to you, you just have to own that. Like, the last year, I've not really done an awful lot fitness-wise when I loved being fit, and at 33 and it's starting to pound on. And I've done a bit of running and I've done a bit of that, but I've also decided to not do that. Yeah. But I know that when I start, I'll carry on, but it's my choice to just...
So you're saying you've got to own both choices, with the choices you've decided to make or the choices you haven't decided to make. Yeah. Because if you decided not to make that choice, you've still owned it. You still made the choice. If you're in a job you don't really like,
and you decide to stay there
because you say I need money, you've made this. You could quit and go and do something different. Now let's go back to what you said. You said one of the things that you have to do is you have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. And you were saying that a lot of people are not honest with themselves. Easy. Yeah. Well, how do you go about being honest with yourself then? Because as I said to you, I think a lot of people think that they're honest.
Yep.
Aren't we?
Yep.
So how did you become honest with yourself?
You know, we all have this voice in our head and we all talk to ourselves.
Right.
And by no means am I saying that I'm always honest with myself. I'm not saying that I'm perfect.
Yeah.
But I think, right, so something that I wish I got taught when I was younger is around money, okay?
Right.
So a few years ago, you know, I got a loan out for this and I got a motorbike and I was like, yeah, amazing, cool.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I lost control of money.
Yeah.
So I've got.
But there's going to be so many people in the same boat as you.
100%, 100%.
Most of us, I would say.
I really, really feel passionately about changing that. And like, anytime I get a young stylist or anyone new to the salon, I will go have a private hour with them. You know, how can I help you? You know, how do you feel about this? What are you weak with? What are you strong with? And I will always discuss. You know, if you live at home, put away 50%, and I'll have a discussion. You know, it's not my business to be involved in their life to that extent, but I always feel obligated to try and give them some advice so that they're in a better position than I was. So
do you know what? This is so good.
To kind of go back to that is, oh, geez, what were we saying?
We were talking about owning stuff.
Yeah, owning your choices. So I was not great with money, and I was like, oh, you know, I just live month to month, and
you got the motorbike out, and
yeah. So
and then when new people come into the salon, you give them advice.
Yeah. So when it comes
it's
to
not your business, but you know,
owning your decisions and being honest to yourself, that was it. So being honest about the fact that I need to make some changes about money, and I need to have a different set of rules than I do now. So I feel most people are in that situation, and I think most people will say, oh, but you know, I do try and save, and I've really gone through and I've worked out my budget, and I've only got this much left to spend. No. Right, I want to get out of that debt.
But some people, bro, there's so much money.
Dan, I know.
You're saying this, but I'm thinking some people, I know people, they've got £4,000 on their credit card.
Yeah.
They're in their overdraft. Every month they probably have maybe 50 quid left over.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? What are you gonna do?
So, and I've been there. I'm not saying I've now got loads of money, but and again it takes time. But I had to be honest with myself. Right, I will check my bank account every single day, in the morning, in the evening, so that I understand my financial situation. Not that it's good. I had to go on to Experian to check my credit. Right, I'm taking responsibility and I'm being accountable for that. And I'm going to be honest with myself. Dan, you're shit with money.
Preach.
Dan, you need to start the process. It's not going to be that you're overnight, right, cool, now I've sorted everything out.
Yeah.
I need to take steps. I need to first understand the situation, then I need to make a plan, and then I need to start to execute it and evolve it as and when I need to. So I now have a much better relationship with my finances. It's by no means perfect yet, but I'm on that route, and I'm not still where I was. So I think that's the same for the job that you hate. Okay, is the job that you hate paying your bills at the moment and sorting you out? Great. Crack on with that. Stop moaning about it, because otherwise you're only going to bring yourself down. And I say that because I've been there. As soon as I start to change my mentality and the way that I'm perceiving the situation, don't really like the job, okay, it's covering me this, it's covering me that. Now what can I do to better myself so that eventually I'm not in that job, or I get the promotion, or I get this, or do you know, I'm going to go and study this so that, you know, my bills are covered, but I'm learning this new skill so I can go do that. And I think money's a big trap. I think you want to be happy is the end thing.
Okay, cool. Right, well, there's a lot to take there. So, I hope that has been useful for you guys. The next bit of the show today, what we're going to do is we're going to go into a segment called the Circle of Elders. Um, Many of you, I don't know if you've studied history, but if you're familiar with history, one of the things that should have become apparent to you is in the olden days when we used to live in communities, we used to have elders. We used to have people who you can go to and get advice. People who you used to go to and ask, ask whether you should get married, ask whether you should have more kids, whether you're having an argument with your missus, what you should do. We don't have those anymore. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to create our version of a series of elders, just advice from other men on different situations. And obviously, because today is our first episode, we do not have any questions. So if you guys have a question that you're wondering, problem that you're having in your life, put it below, send us a message, and we will try our very best to answer it. But I have been online and I have found questions that people have been going through and problems that people have been having. And I wanted to share it with you guys, and you, Dan, in this particular case, can give us, and I can give you answers as to what we will do. Usually, of course, we would have more people to answer these questions, but Dan is a great person to answer some of these questions, so I thought we would begin with him. Some of them are scenarios, so I'll begin up with this one. This question says that, it goes like this: how can someone who usually channels anger, depression, and other negative emotions into their lifts, meaning the gym, make a change towards a more peaceful mindset whilst lifting? For years, all that has been fueling me is negativity, and I think it's only made me wallow in those emotions even more because I use it as fuel for progress now. I would like to be able to leave that behind and use positive emotions to fuel my growth in the gym, and hopefully it radiates out into my life as a whole. How can I do this to better myself?
Great question. I think a lot of us have been there. I've definitely been there. I went to the gym for a period to, it's physically working out that frustration. That definitely helps. Okay, so I think the question there.
So this is for your brother. You've got a brother, and your brother's come to you and he said this. Look, Dan, I've been using anger and aggression to go through the gym, and I get pumped and I go into beast mode. Issue is, I've realised by the time I finish the gym and I come down from that, boy, I'm vexed, I'm angry, I'm like fuming, and I realise it's like now 2:00 and I'm still angry. How can I use some more positive emotions to improve that?
So I think you need to try and figure out what's the cause of that. You need to again sit down, be honest with yourself. Or try, not.
Well, I don't know.
Just try and pinpoint. Why are you angry?
That's why I'm asking you. I don't know why it is I'm angry.
Okay.
That's the whole reason why I'm asking you.
So I can't give anyone the answers to anything if they don't know what's causing that. So you need to sit down.
When you say sit down, what do you mean exactly by that? Because do you mean I just sit down here and then I just sit here, or?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think remove external
distractions.
Yeah, external distractions.
And
you
stimulus.
Sit in your bedroom, go for a walk, whatever it is, but to be in your own head. I think too many people don't like to be in their own head because they're afraid of what's in there. And I'm there sometimes. Sometimes I think, oh my God, where's my brain going? So I think you need to try and, why are you angry? Now, you probably have a rough idea of what's getting you vexed. Whatever your past is to lead you to that point, it could be, a whole variety of things. So you need to try and understand what that is, and if that's you need to try and figure out what one or multiple things are causing that reaction. Okay, and say you're always getting in fights. you need to try and break down why are you ending up in those fights. If someone giving you constructive criticism and you're not able to take it, and you're taking that as a form of attack, so you verbally attack them, and then it ends up in whether it's a verbal fight or a physical fight. Okay, do I need to take a breath for 10 seconds after someone's given me criticism that I don't feel great with, and
but this person is talking about in the gym. This person is saying that
so
this is
gym,
what they're saying is when they go into the gym, they're thinking, instead of what I'm presuming they're saying is, they're probably looking at other people, and other people are, for example, being motivated by their dad passing away, which is something positive, and they're like, or they're being motivated by, I want a really amazing body. This brother is saying, I'm going into the gym and I'm thinking, I'm going to show people that I can do this. This brother is thinking, do you know what? I'm going to get so big here that nobody can touch me.
Okay, so
I'm going to get so big, right, that
so
everybody
issue
in the gym is envious of me, that I'm the best.
So there's an,
That's what this
there's
brother
an
is saying.
underlying reason there.
Right.
That I'm not a psychiatrist, but from the people that I've seen in life, and you watch on TV and you watch these documentaries where they go and test themselves, and the biggest guy there normally is the one to always, when confronted, say, oh, you know, I was picked on at school, so I had to be big. So I'd say there's an underlying reason
So
that
how do I
you
deal with
want
that?
to be the biggest person in the room.
So how do you deal with that?
How do you deal with that?
Because I'm just going to tell you, Dan, I go to the gym basically a lot. Well, when it was open. And a lot of these brothers in there, they're angry, boy. They walk around fuming. And I'm obviously just in there as Cass, like getting on, doing my running. And I can see these brothers are angry,
what
man.
I would say with that then,
They're fuming.
again, I don't know what that person would then be like outside, and he's saying he's maybe angry all the time.
Well, this is what I'm guessing. Because I'm guessing, if you are that
Channel
pissed
aggression
off
is
and
a
you're
good thing.
because there is a come down. When you go back in the days when you were cycling, when you were cycling for like 6 hours, after you've finished 100 miles in 6 hours, Dan, you don't just go home and then there is like a come down. It takes you like a couple of hours to just, okay, I'm back to normal now. What I think this brother is saying is, by the time he finishes the gym, it's like 8:30. Goes home, has a shower. He's still like, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be better than everybody else. By the time he even gets out of that mode, it's like 12 o'clock already. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, but this is now shit because now I'm feeling like crap again, and I'm back to not feeling powerful. So this is shit. So now he's got to like go back to the gym in the afternoon or in the evening to get that hit again.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? So
to have that aggression and that desire and drive is great, and to be able to go to the gym, tap into aggression and do what you need to do, that is brilliant. You know, that is a good thing to have. And again, like I mentioned earlier about how do we get that military style of leadership and courage and all the rest of it, something that they focus on a lot is controlled aggression. So
how do you control your aggression then?
That's for an individual to decide.
Well, how do you? You're not an angry person. When you get pissed off, how do you control it?
So when I was younger,
Right.
I definitely had some anger issues and some. I don't know. I was just a bit of an angry child.
So how did you control it? How? Because right now
I'm
telling you, I know Dan is not a very angry person.
No.
In comparison to some brothers I know, this brother is chilled. So how were you like? Like Dan? Why are you?
Because
not
I
angry?
quickly learned that it's not going to get me very far.
Right.
If I have a fight or if I don't treat someone well, it's not going to reflect and do me any good as a human being.
No.
Because I won't progress, because the next time that there's that event to go to, or someone wants to invite me to something like this, if I'm the guy that comes in and has got aggro with everyone, I'm not going to get invited back. So I learnt to, and I think a lot of it stems from frustration. If I look back at it now, it was because I was frustrated that I didn't know how to deal with the situation. So, right, okay, how could, in hindsight, right, I dealt with it like that, this consequence
Well,
happened.
how did you find out how to deal with it?
So I got frustrated at school and I shouted and screamed and pushed someone over, and then a consequence of that was teacher tells you off, detentions, whatever it is. Right, okay, I don't want to do that. Right, okay, so I dealt with that situation like that. How could I have dealt with that different? Maybe if I'd voiced my frustrations with that person in, you know, life, just learning. You know, one time you do it one way, it's not quite perfect, you feel uneasy, and then the next time you're presented with that situation, rather than blowing up and wanting to deal with it with physical or verbal aggression, silence, think about it, assess the situation. Do you know what? And do you know what? That's something that I do live by a bit, is silence is power. You don't always have to have something to say.
Okay. I'm just
I
going to
know
move
I'm
on to the
probably
next
not
one.
answering that one massively well.
No, that's okay. Let me give you another one, because there's another one here that I think this is interesting, and I think is actually linked to your journey. Somebody said, what changed and what views do you have on Jesus? Can you offer any good knowledge to those who've closed themselves off to Jesus and have no sense of spiritual faith remaining? Are you
what's
are you
the
a spiritual
question there?
person? So what they're basically trying to say is they recognize this. So your brother's come up to you, and your brother recognizes there's clearly something to do with this spirituality, God, faith, religion sort of thing. There's clearly something to it, okay? But too much shit's happened in this brother's life, man. They've been betrayed, they can't seem to find anybody, loads of things have gone wrong in their life.
Okay,
And if
so-
God really existed, explain to me why it is that people get cancer, why it is that they can't get laid, why there is people who are more ugly than him who have girlfriends. This just doesn't make sense. Why would God want to do that? And so this brother has no faith at all in religion, but he realises that there is clearly something to this religion.
So he wants to find out
So
how
he
does
wants
he
to know-
regain his faith.
So he wants to know, why is it that you have your faith? And do you, well, number one, do you believe in anything, Dan? Is I think the first question. Because you might turn around and say, actually, Cass, I don't believe in God or spirituality or any of that nonsense.
I would say
So what would you say to him?
I envy people who have, especially on that topic, that much clarity. So someone who either completely, there is no God, we live, we die, we're in the dirt.
An atheist, yeah, cool.
I
Generalising, don't send me an email about
yeah.
definitions,
but
but yes.
The point I'm trying to make with that is to have that certain of clarity. I envy that person, or the person who has clarity of there is definitely a God. I have this relationship with him. Whatever.
Do you believe that there's a God?
I don't know. Do I believe that the God, in the sense that maybe is the mainstream version of a God? I don't know. Do I think that we are just here and we're not? I think life in the universe.
So when your parents
is
die,
bigger
what
than
do you
that.
think is going to happen to them?
Probably more atheist than I am a man of God.
Well, what do you mean by that? Describe what you mean. Because there's going to be people saying, well, what does atheism mean? It's like somebody saying, well, I believe in equality. Well, what does equality mean? Is it equality of pay, equality of opportunity? So when you say
equality, we can get.
Let's get into that on another
Get
subject.
the definition out.
Well, let's get into that on another topic.
Yeah.
But my point being is, there's going to be people out there who want to know, what do you mean by you're an atheist? What do you believe? Is there a God? Isn't there a God? Do you believe, like, the people are going to be saying, well, what happens when you die? Do we just die? Tell me. And this is what basically this
answer
brother
to
is
that-
you. This brother is you. This is you, Dan. You must have wrote this question, because this is basically what this brother is saying. He's saying, like, what views do you have on Jesus, right? How can you offer some good knowledge
so-
on those who've closed
right, let's-
themselves off to Jesus and have no sense of spiritual faith remaining?
Right. Okay. Let's break it down. So, because I've been doing a little bit of research into Christianity.
Yeah.
And because there are so many fractions that are fractured off from the original, and I've just kind of been looking into it just for that the same question: is there? What is it? Do I believe? Do I not?
So what have
What's
you
going to
found?
happen? So what I would say is.
So this is your brother you're speaking to here, and your brother's come up to you and he's asked you this question.
From what I understand, if we take everything back and we try to remove what is contradictory, things that have changed, there are certain Bibles or certain passages that have been manipulated to represent what that person or that section of the church believes. But if we try and get the most original possible Bible
truth,
and to take it literally, but also to understand that words have different meanings.
I just want to stop you there, because a moment ago, everybody's going to, I'm telling you because I'm thinking it, you've just said that you're not that you're an atheist, which, if I'm giving it a definition, is basically you believe that there isn't a God. You believe that there is no kind of reasoning and meaning behind stuff. Yeah, just because somebody gets run over, there is no meaning in just somebody getting run over. It's not because apparently them being run over is because they're in some way supposed to have an epiphany and then go on to inspire people. You don't believe that, right? So, and now you're talking about looking at the origins of the Bible, which is contradictory. Somebody's going to be saying this.
Yeah, no, totally.
So what's going on?
But I think in order to have an opinion on something, you need to do your research in it. I can't have opinion on TV technology because I know nothing about what makes the TV. Right. So in order to say that TV is better than that TV, I need to understand why one is.
See, different. If I'm sat at home, Dan, this answer, if I'm being honest,
yes,
I'm getting
there.
You're not answering. If I was your brother and I've asked you this question, basically you haven't even answered my question. I'm so lost.
All right, I'll go straight. I'll go straight to it.
Right, I'm so lost, man. Should I believe in religion or shouldn't I? Or what am I meant to do? I'm lost. I get that. That's what the brother is saying. He's saying he realises that there is something in religion. Clearly, he doesn't know what it is, but.
If we go for the unadulterated version of. So when he was talking about religion, was he saying any particular religion or just religion
Jesus?
In general? Okay.
Jesus, which is Christian.
So if we go down that route. And we go for the unadulterated version of it. Yeah. Earth is in the domain of.
I'm going to ask you to be very cautious about this, because if you start talking about religion, Dan, people are going to bring you up on this.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know if you're going to start.
Well, you're the question.
I am asking you this, but I just want to pre-warn you right now. So, if you start talking about religion and giving answers that are going to be quoting stuff, people are going to bring you up on this.
That's everything.
Okay, cool.
They can
all
right,
go ahead. Yeah, continue. No, go on.
I am no expert by any means.
But this is anyway your perspective, so yeah.
That's it. This is my opinion as someone who is looking into and has questions, but doesn't necessarily feel that there is something out there. There's something bigger, but I don't know if I believe in a God. But if we look
you wouldn't recommend your brother coming back to Jesus?
That's not my call.
So you wouldn't?
It's a personal journey.
But what I'm saying is...
No, but so your question was, why are all these bad things happening?
No. The question was, this brother doesn't believe... He realises there is something towards having faith, but he doesn't believe in it.
Journey, then.
Huh? But he doesn't really believe in it, and he just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
That's your personal journey. You need to do your research,
Okay.
Like I said, I've looked into this.
Okay, no, fair enough.
Journey.
Let's move on to the next question. I grew up with my mum, and I feel the lack of masculine energy in my life. Almost everyone I encountered whilst growing up was a female. I feel like I'm filled with feminine energy. How can I change that? God, that's deep, man.
Yeah, do you know, I feel I have a bit of a connection to that, where, I had a dad, but I definitely connect more and have more conversations with my mother. Right. I'm a hairdresser. I work with women. Yeah. I feel like I can go and talk to women relatively easily.
Right.
And throughout my life, I've been told I'm camp, I'm this, I'm that, because I have, for using his terminology, a feminine energy.
Right.
That being said, I've got a masculine side, so.
So you would be perfect for this question then. So how does a brother channel? How do I'm filled with feminine energy. How can I change that? So Dan, I'm your brother.
Okay,
I've come
so
to you.
He wants to become a bit more
masculine, basically. He wants to have more masculine energy, but then
I would say don't overthink that.
Right.
You need to be comfortable with who you are.
Right.
You've got alpha males who are.
Give us an example
They
of
are
that. Who would be an alpha male?
The A person.
Give us an example in modern society of an alpha male.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
He is Mr. Olympia. I am a
Fair
man.
enough.
I will have this woman. I will have that woman. Or clunk on the head, caveman,
Jesus.
apex, apex male.
Whoa. Yeah.
Apex male.
Okay, so you've got an alpha, Arnold, yeah.
And then you've got a whole array of people under that.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest problem with that, and we're talking about manhood, is we do not need to put ourselves to a stereotype. If I would say you're more manly than I am. Am I worried about that? No. I've walked in with a pink jumper and, I've got my fancy whatever jeans on. I'm a bit more effeminate in that sense. But do I feel less masculine? No. So I think the thing he needs to do there is don't focus on what everyone else is telling you that, oh, you're feminine, you're this. If you're, how do I put it?
I don't think that's going to solve his problem though. Because I'm just thinking, if I was feeling feminine energy more than I was feeling masculine energy.
And do you know what?
You were telling me that I should
go do some boxing. That's what I did. I always wanted to be a boxer. So
all right, fair enough.
Some practical.
So go boxing, all right. Because I've realised men don't really want you to be telling them theories. We like the ABC. We like the how do I go from here to here? Yeah. I've just realised it. That's why I'm just thinking, if you tell a man to go inwards and so I don't think that's going to solve his problem. I'm just thinking, if that was me, I'd be like, Dan, I still feel I'm going inwards, and I'm still not I'm still feeling that energy. So that's like basically someone punching you in the face, and then you're saying to them, oh no, and then that's like someone punching you in the face, and then you're saying, oh, don't compare yourself because somebody else is right now could be. No, that's like me being in debt, and then you saying to me, yeah, but don't compare yourself because there are people who are even more in debt than you. Well, that doesn't eradicate the fact that I'm still in debt.
No. But what I'm saying is, you need to understand this. Everybody, I don't care, male, woman, young, old. You need to understand your situation before you can make a decision for the next thing. So, okay, he's feeling feminine. What are masculine things? Go try them out. So, I've always been, oh, Dan, you're gay because you're a hairdresser and you're skinny and you kind of throw your arms around and you wear pink and you have earrings and you dye your hair all different colours. Okay, great. Oh god, yeah, I'm the gay guy, whatever.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to go and do boxing, but all the boxing clubs are, old generation. You're just a bit of fresh meat when you join. But that's the truth, right? That's the truth.
Yeah, but I'm guessing
as a feminine man, I would feel intimidated to be in that situation.
Dan, I'm going to guarantee you that the brother who's asked this question isn't the most biggest of guys. So when you say to this brother to go into a gym, to go into a boxing gym, I've been to a boxing gym. I'm telling you, number one, how do you even go into a boxing gym when you are somebody who is not that, because that's what he's saying. He's not that confident. He doesn't feel like a man. He doesn't feel like an Arnold Schwarzenegger. And now you're asking him to go into a boxing gym with basically lads who are all really confident, all huge. I'm just thinking, Dan, I'm just being honest, and I'm just saying what people are thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if I went into a gym and I already feel feminine energy, there's going to be all the other lads, not in the gym, sorry, boxing gym. They're all going to be bigger than me. They're all going to be like really scary and powerful. I'm going to go in there and they're going to be thinking already, well, I'm a weakling and what am I doing in this? a lot of brothers who are going to be listening to this are black, so they can't just walk in there and then they'll be probably accepted. Because I'm going to guess, if you are probably into boxing, obviously this is a stereotype, but most people who are into boxing typically tend to be like black people, don't they?
Right.
When you went to your gym, what percentage of people in the gym were, when you went and did boxing, what percentage of the, what percentage of the people would you say in that boxing gym were black versus white?
10%, 20%.
What? Which one?
We're black.
Really?
Yeah. So this is
So
what
that's
I
the
mean.
lesson for you kids.
Yeah.
Don't take
Don't do
stereotypes.
the stereotype.
Yeah.
Okay, so but what I'm trying to say with that is...
Well,
if
how
he's-
did you
if
go
he's
there?
feeling-
How did you just... What, you just walked into the gym?
So, I did some research. Can I... everybody do some research. If you want to do something, you need to understand it. How can you do something without understanding it?
True.
Right?
So, okay,
I didn't
run
want
me
to go,
through
I
that.
didn't want to go
So
to
you're
Bracknell
sat there...
Boys.
No. Let's just run this through because... I'm sat here, I'm watching this right now, so I'm watching you, you're telling me that I should go to a boxing gym. Okay,
Yeah.
what do I do next?
Okay, so what I did was I did some research for boxing clubs relatively local to me.
So I go onto Google,
Yep, we
I
have
type into Google
the
boxing
amazing
gyms,
thing of the internet,
Right.
which opens so much up to you.
so I open up Google and I search in boxing gyms in Hastings.
Yeah, so I just put boxing clubs near my postcode.
Done. Okay.
Like 10 came up.
10 came up. Okay, 10's
So
come
we've
up.
got like Bracknell Boys Boxing Club, and when I lived in Bracknell, all I ever heard was, these are, it's kind of like a generational thing that go there. So his dad did and his granddad did, and not my words, other people's words, but it's like a rougher club.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm the skinny little effeminate, I've got a butterfly on my thing. I didn't necessarily feel comfortable going to that degree straight away.
Right.
But if your thing is, I feel effeminate, confidence has got nothing to do with that. If you could be confident, but maybe you feel you have more feminine energy.
Let me give you an
Yeah.
example of that. Somebody like Michael McIntyre. Is that his name? Michael McIntyre? Is that his name? The comedian?
Yeah.
Yeah, the comedian.
Right.
He's openly said he's a very calm guy. His missus even says he's a very calm guy. But his confidence has nothing to do with that. So
Yes.
you were right in saying that.
Okay.
Continue, yeah.
So, so I did some research. I had a client. It was not my client, but a client in the salon. He was fitness, and I'd heard him kind of talking about boxing. So I was like, right, I'm going to use the connection that I have, as well as all the other research.
Right.
Hey, do you know of any good boxing clubs? Look at me, or anyone that I can kind of get started with.
Yeah.
And with a stroke of luck, he was actually an ex. He helped coach David Hayes, and he's done boxing himself. And
What are the chances of that,
And
Dan?
he was literally just
What are the chances
just
of that?
starting his own boxing club for people who want to give it a go,
You are taking the piss.
but don't have to commit to, right, okay, you're going to be training 2 fights. You can
Isn't that
do the
interesting?
training. If you want to do the fight at the end of it, do it. We would like you to for your confidence, whatever. But that's your choice. So you need to start. If you sit in your
Okay,
room
so let's
and
just
you
go back
say-
then. No, I'm sorry, let's just go back. So I've gone on Google because, okay, this is basically, that scenario is never going to happen in 99% of people's circumstances. So I've gone on Google,
Yeah.
I've typed in gyms in my area,
Yeah.
right, but I don't know anybody in those gyms. Where do I go next?
Go.
What do you mean I
So
go?
you look at the reviews.
What do you mean?
You can
I
look at-
actually just
you can
turn
look
up at the gym? Or do I call them? Or do I text them? Like, what do I do? I can't just turn up. Are you crazy?
So I think that's down to your
'Cause this brother is
your
saying-
personality then.
Well, okay, fair
Again,
enough.
he's feeling feminine energy. He's not said he's not confident.
Okay, fair
So,
enough. Yeah.
some people, like my girlfriend, when we're ordering takeaway, I'm the one that has to call because she doesn't like to call.
Right.
So one person will be like, I'll make a phone call, I'll send an email, can I drop in? Oh, I see they're open on Tuesdays. Drop in. Hi, is there anyone I can talk to?
Yeah.
So that's, you need to gauge that for yourself.
Right.
But there's no reason why you can't send an email, send a Facebook message, call them, whatever it is,
Yeah.
to inquire.
Okay.
And I think, especially now with websites, you can get a general vibe for what one of the 5 different clubs in the area they're going to suit you. Do a bit of research, get an idea, and then, call up. Hi, I've never done any boxing. I'd really like to get involved. Yeah, no problem, mate. Come on down. Or you're going to get the one, or yeah, you know that's the one you don't go to. You go to the first one.
Yeah.
And then you go.
And then you just go with the flow. See what happens.
Say there's a super masculine guy, and he really wants to go do ballet, but almost a bit feminine. But it's not.
Do you know what I found as well?
Stereotypes.
Do you know what I always find? This is going to sound a bit crazy, but this is what I found. I found that if you're on extreme of something, if you go to the complete extreme of whatever it is that you are, they are usually the most open. So if you go to, if say for example, you are a very feminine, let's just say you're a very feminine guy and you go to a boxing arena, the person you actually want to go on, don't talk to people who are in the middle. Because usually people who are in the middle are not very driven, they're not very open.
Totally agree.
If you go to the person who is the best boxer in there, I guarantee you, he has more of a chance of speaking to you and giving you really good advice than the people who are like average boxers.
100% I agree.
I have found that if you go into a restaurant, I guarantee you, the restaurant manager will be a lot more nicer to talking to you, to listening to you. There is a reason why when people want to make a complaint, they always go to the manager. They don't want to talk to the people who are middle management. Because people who are middle management, you're just going to say, oh, it's another problem, it's another person complaining. And so what I would suggest to you is, obviously this is thinking outside the box, but find the thing that is the most extreme. If you're, for example, somebody who's really, really, really like masculine, and you want to, for example, because there is loads of lads who are like, I'm too hard. I'm too hard, Cass. I'm too hard all the time. I need to soften up a bit, man. Do you know what I would do? I'd find like somebody who's like a child.
Yeah.
Because it always makes me laugh, right? When you have like a man who has a daughter, and he's like, and he with everybody else is like, no, you can't have that. No, you shouldn't do that. Discipline, discipline. And the little kid like makes the grown ass man melt down because it's such an extreme that you see the difference. Like you can see the difference in yourself, if that makes sense. So it's funny that you say that you went to speak to the person who was using boxing, but he was an extreme. He was doing somebody who, he was about to start a freaking place. Like, can you have any more extreme? You have to know boxing pretty well to be able to even get into that kind of a position.
Oh yeah, and he knows his stuff, definitely. So I think life is always about balance. So you don't want to be too soft because everyone will walk all over you. You don't want to be too hard because people don't want to know you because you're too hard. So it's about finding that balance, and everybody's individual. You can look to other people for inspiration, you can look to them for ideas, but I think it's never a good thing to compare yourself directly to someone else.
My sisters always say that
you're not that person.
What do my sisters say? They say to me, Cassim, comparison is a thief of all joy. That's what my sisters are constantly saying to me. Yep. The moment you compare yourself, man. Listen, there's nothing wrong with looking at other people and saying, do you know what? I really like the fact that Dan's so open. Yeah, do you know what? I really like the fact that Dan has such versatility in the way that he looks at things. Because obviously he grew up in Africa and he grew up in England as well, and he's like grown up in loads of different like circumstances. But that doesn't mean I have to be Dan. That just means, do you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of Dan, but I don't like the fact that Dan is maybe has long hair. Well, I don't want to look like Dan because the long hair is not really my thing. Or do you know what? I like the fact that Dan has the fact that he has these really cool tattoos. But I don't really like the beard, man. You do not have to copy everything literally to the word. You don't have to copy Dan and be Dan. But what you can do is a word called modelling. You can take aspects of what you like about Dan, put them onto yourself, and then just refine them. Make them you, you know? And I think that would be a really good place for us to close today. Dan, any final words before we end today's show?
Yeah, sorry, I probably haven't been. I kind of ramble.
Well, it's the first episode.
Everyone.
It doesn't matter. But you've been honest, Dan, which I think is really important for a lot of people. And you know, I've learned with these shows, you will be shocked at who is listening and what you say, what you think is important to you, like you are trying to do, is not the thing that actually people find interesting. It'll be something completely different. And I think if you just are always yourself.
And I think there's we're just voicing to sit down with these people and have that conversation, you get that feedback and they have a response and you can have a response and you can discuss it. So, yeah, I think life is about balance. Yeah.
Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dan. So that is it for this week's show. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, guys. We'll be posting these videos every Wednesday to begin off with. We will be doing multiple. The team is going to be becoming larger and larger, guys. As I said to you at the beginning of the show, a few of our friends and a few of the people who are going to be coming on the show at the moment have circumstances that can't allow them to be able to join us. But I hope that you guys will join us on this journey. We really just want to create a platform where we can just talk about stuff. We can talk about conversations. We can just talk about... Eventually, we'll be able to talk about things that are happening in the papers and things like that. But for now, I hope that you liked it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.